Good evening, welcome to Viewpoint. I'm Zaka Jacob. We're starting off with a big breaking story on a day when the Supreme Court has upheld the powers of arrest, search and seizure of the Enforcement Directorate. Now comes a big story from Kolkata where Arpita Mukherjee, who was a close associate of the arrested TMC Minister Partho Chatterjee, her second house has been raided. This was supposedly a house that was locked. Huge amounts of cash reportedly have been found in this second home as well. Remember, a few days ago, after Partho Chatterjee was arrested, there were raids at Arpita Mukherjee's residence. Massive amounts of cash, 20 crores, I think, was recovered at that time. Now we're getting similar scenes in a second home of Arpita Mukherjee, a home which was supposedly under lock and key. Now you can see those live pictures of Enforcement Directorate officers along with security personnel who are inside that house. And right now, as we speak, they are counting the cash. So let me go across to Ashish Mershi, who has more details on this. Ashish, this is turning out to be a tale within a tale. Arpita Mukherjee, it seems, was flush with cash.
So it's absolutely surprising, Zaka. In fact, the way we are surprised, the Enforcement Directorate officers are themselves surprised that they are able to catch this kind of cash. They never expected Arpita Mukherjee to hold this kind of cash, because when the raid started, my sources in the Enforcement Directorate told me they never thought of knocking the door of Arpita Mukherjee. But when they got the details of certain property documents which were jointly in the name of Partha and Arpita, then they decided to raid Arpita Mukherjee. Now, after the questioning, because they are, both Arpita as well as Partha Chatterjee are in custody of the Enforcement Directorate, there are certain revelations that Arpita Mukherjee is making during questioning. During questioning, she told about 2 houses that she owns. These houses were under lock and key. Now, they have broken open those, the Enforcement Directorate has, they started searches in the morning today. They have broken open those houses and they found huge amount of cash. So it's going to take some time. How much cash is going to be there? What is the amount? We still don't know, but it is certainly huge. That is what my sources in the Enforcement Directorate tell me. They can only confirm the figure after counting, but it is certainly huge amount of cash that has been found in the second house of Arpita Mukherjee.
All right, we'll wait to see for further details from the Enforcement Directorate how much money was recovered in the first house the day after Partho Chatterjee was arrested. Reportedly 20 crores of cash were found in the house of Arpita Mukherjee. Let me now move on to the larger story, which of course is that there's been a big fillip for the Enforcement Directorate today by the Supreme Court. The SC has held that the power given to the Enforcement Directorate to make arrests, to conduct search and seizure operations are constitutionally valid. The judges have said that the challenges to the ED's power of arrest are unfounded because there are requisite safeguards which are already in place. The bench also noted that the Enforcement Directorate is not the police and therefore statements recorded by them during inquiry are valid. And most controversially, the opposition says the SC has also said that the Enforcement Directorate sleuths need not inform accused persons of what grounds they are being arrested under at the time of arrest. And all of this is coming even as the opposition has been alleging that agencies like the ED are being used as instruments to harass the opposition by the government. But after the SC ruling today, will criticism of agencies like the ED end from the opposition side?
While the Congress continued to protest against the questioning of party President Sonia Gandhi by the Enforcement Directorate over alleged money laundering in the National Herald case, the Supreme Court upheld the constitutional validity of the stringent provisions of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. The Supreme Court bench held that the power given to the Enforcement Directorate for making arrests, conducting searches and seizures, and attaching proceeds of crimes are constitutionally valid. The judges said that challenges to the ED's power of arrest are unfounded because requisite safeguards exist. The bench noted that the Enforcement Directorate is not police and therefore statements recorded by them during inquiry are valid evidence. The court also specified that it is not mandatory for Enforcement Directorate officers to disclose the grounds of arrest at the time of detaining an accused, and that it is not necessary to give the ECIR or copy of complaint to the accused because it is an internal document of the Enforcement Directorate. The top court said that the twin provisions for bail under the PMLA are legal and not arbitrary. Minutes after the verdict, BJP President JP Nadda took a swipe at the Congress.
ये न देश के लिए है आवश्यक, न ही पार्टी के लिए. ये एक परिवार को बचाने की एक कुत्सित प्रयास है। यह परिवार अपने आप को देश से ऊपर, कानून से ऊपर समझता है। It has been upheld by Supreme Court and we should respect the Constitution, we should respect the law and we should respect the law of the land.
The Congress in turn accused the centre of misusing investigating agencies.
Misuse of PMLA is concerned. I don't think the Supreme Court has said or could have said that you can continue misusing PMLA.
Petitioners like Congress MP Karti Chidambaram and former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti had argued that unchecked power to arrest the accused without informing them of the grounds of arrest or evidence is unconstitutional. But with the Supreme Court drawing the line, has the bid to save money laundering accused failed?
All right, let me go across to our guests who are joining us on the big debate tonight on Viewpoint. Charu Pragya is national spokesperson of the BJP, Rohan Gupta, spokesperson of the Congress Party, Sandeep Das is an advocate, and Chandrasekhar Nene is a political analyst. Let me start with you, Rohan Gupta, because this is what the Supreme Court bench today said, that it is held that the power given to the Enforcement Directorate to make arrests, to conduct search and seizure, and to attach proceeds of crime are constitutionally valid. The judges have also gone on to say that the ED's power of arrest, those fears, are unfounded because requisite safeguards exist. After the Supreme Court judgment, will you at least now concede that these fears of arbitrary arrest, search and seizure, etc., which the opposition has been saying the government is using as some kind of an instrument of harassment, at least those fears are unfounded because that's what the court has said?
Our court is not saying that. If the intention of the government, which directs these agencies or these agencies works as per the instruction of the government, if the intention of the government is not good, any kind of unlimited power is, it's not going to make any difference. Whether power, even if the power is limited and the intention of this government is not good, it's not going to work. What we are talking is about political vendetta. And Jairam Rameshji, our communication in charge, he has just issued the statement saying that he had filed against Supreme Court regarding the misuse of money bill route, and that is still pending. So what we are saying is, yes, we respect the Supreme Court judgment, but at the same time, what is important, Zaka, is the intention of this government. Unless and until the intention of this government is not about political vendetta, I think nothing is going to change here. So
no, but Rohan, this is also what the court has said, that the bench noted that the Enforcement Directorate is not the police and therefore statements recorded by them during inquiry are valid evidence. The court has also specified it's not mandatory, and this is again, some would argue it's controversial. I'll get the lawyer to respond, but the court has also specified it's not mandatory for Enforcement Directorate officers to disclose the grounds of arrest at the time of detaining an accused.
Absolutely. So I am again repeating my statement. Whatever you are saying, I am not against that. What I am saying, what is the intention after that? That is very, very crucial. Again, I'll come to one point like PMLA. If you see this government, around more than 5,200 cases have been filed under PMLA. You tell me, Zaka, is it possible that not even a single BJP leader, there is the name is there, number one. Number two, the BJP, the leaders, the Congress leaders or other party leaders who have joined BJP, against whom the action has been initiated, there is no future development on that or no action on that. So what I am talking, Zaka, is about the intention, the political will of the government.
Okay.
No ruling is going to change.
Let me ask Charu Pragya, together with what the court has said today, I think it's important to also scrutinize the record of the Enforcement Directorate, which I'm afraid is rather patchy. In 2021-22, the Enforcement Directorate registered as many as 1,180 prosecution complaints. 5 years ago, it was just 148. And out of these 1,180, many of them were against political opponents of an opposing political party, not just one party, but multiple opposition parties. And out of this, Charu Pragya, there were only 23 convictions. That is a conviction rate of 0.5%. Isn't that a valid question to ask?
Absolutely, Zaka, and you're valid enough to ask any question you like. What I want to say about charges of corruption is that if you take the example of the TMC leader that was caught with endless cash, or you take the example of what is happening in the National Herald case, there is a lot of smoke to require this kind of investigation. We've all seen it. Where has the money come from if not corruption? And the same thing is true of the National Herald case. I know Rohan Gupta has been defending the Congress party and he's been doing it with a lot of dedication. But simple questions that we have asked, we've not been given answers for. How is it that property worth 2,000 crore can be passed over for only 90 crore? And how is it that a loan worth 90 crore can be written off in simply 50 lakh rupees? Now, what is this funda and how does this work? Please explain to me. Also, like a layman, I want to know if there are the same promoters and majority shareholders in AGL, in Young Indians, and in the Congress party. Will it not cause trouble? How is it legal from any angle? Moreover, it is not just about what the Supreme Court has said today, and I'm very glad the Supreme Court has given a very detailed explanation of the PMLA Act and why ED is in its complete constitutional purview to be taking the action it is taking. I want to also remind him of the Delhi High Court judgment in 2013. And 2013 I'm mentioning because, Zaka, it was not BJP that was in power then. They did move the Delhi High Court, and the Delhi High Court used two words, two very specific statements in its judgment. One was questionable conduct and the other was criminal intent, and refused to quash the case. This case was not quashed. The Congress party and its leaders actually moved the Supreme Court even at that point of time, and the Supreme Court did not quash the case. So I find it disrespectful that you keep questioning the courts, you keep questioning the authorities, yet you refuse to furnish proof, as in how you have this get-rich-quick policy that is active and that you keep defending.
Let me go to Sandeep Das, and I want to ask specifically. One second, Charu. Just give me one moment, please. Let me go to Sandeep Das. He's been waiting patiently. Two specific things from a legal point of view. The court specifying that it is not mandatory for ED officers to declare at the time of arrest what grounds or what charges an accused person is being detained under. And number two, it's also not necessary to give the enforcement certificate information report or the ECIR or a copy of the complaint to the accused, because the court has today ruled that it's an internal document of the Enforcement Directorate. Does this go against rights of the accused as has been enshrined in the CRPC and the IPC?
Yeah, thank you. The courts have actually held slightly differently. In a more nuanced manner, what the court has held is that the ED officials are not actually police. So therefore, the ECIR is not really an FIR, which is supposed to be in public domain. Now, once the ECIR is not in public domain, it is not incumbent upon them to provide the ECIR to the accused. However, what the court has also held to safeguard the rights of the accused, and which we must concentrate on, is that the accused, when he is produced before the special magistrate under PMLA, the special magistrate could inform the accused about the ECIR and the contents thereof. So it's not as if the accused has no rights, or it's not as if not providing the ECIR goes against the constitutional rights of an accused.
But at the time of in normal crimes, can I just bring in, as a comparison? Let's forget PMLA for a moment. In normal crimes, if you're arrested for murder, if you're arrested for road accident, whatever, in normal crimes, when you're arrested, isn't a suspect or an accused told at the time of arrest that these are the charges you're being arrested for?
So yes, so he would be told that these are the grounds of arrest, and similar would be in the case of an arrest in PMLA as well. The court has not actually held that the accused will not be told of the grounds of arrest. He would be informed orally by the arresting official of the grounds of arrest. However, the ECIR would not be given to him. That's really what the court has held today. And in fact, it's developing jurisprudence, because the court has also left many questions open in the matter, since the matter would be also before a larger bench. So it's really not correct to say that the accused would not be informed of the grounds of arrest. He would be, in fact. Only difference is the issue involved was whether the accused would be given a copy of the ECIR. The court has said no, that is not mandatory, since it's an ED internal document.
Let me also go across to Chandrasekhar Nene, political analyst who's joining us. All governments at some point of time or the other have been accused of using agencies like the CBI and the ED. When the UPA was in power in 2012-13, the Supreme Court, no less, had famously remarked that the CBI is like a caged parrot. At that time, there was the famous moniker of the CBI being the Congress Bureau of Investigation. So it isn't correct or fair that only one government is facing the charge of using agencies like the CBI, IT or ED, because all governments at varying points of time have used these agencies to settle political scores.
No, Zaka, what we have to actually discern here is who are actually the accused people in this case. They are one of the very powerful people in this country. if you were to try them in the normal ordinary courts, they would not be able to be tried also because of their power. That's perhaps the reason why Supreme Court has granted enormous powers to the PMLA authorities, to the ED authorities, to arrest without proper intimation and things like that. What we must be reeling here, what are we talking here is about the rights of the accused. Take the case of the rights of the people who have been defrauded by these great people. The Congress party's funds, for example, the funds were generated by the common Congress workers. They have been defrauded. What about the rights of those common Congress workers? We are not talking about that at all. I would like to point out something here actually, that from the very country where Sonia Antonia Maino belongs to, Italy, in the year 62 before the birth of Christ, there was a ruler called Julius Caesar, and he has specifically said that Julius Caesar's wife has to be above suspicion. What it means that the leader has a special responsibility to remain above suspicion. We would have expected the leaders to come forward and say, investigate us, whatever you want to investigate, because we have done nothing wrong. Instead of that, they are going on the streets and telling people that no, the investigation should stop. These courts are wrong, the rule is wrong, ED is wrong, everything is wrong. Except when ED was trying Satyendra Narayan in Delhi, ED was right because Congress itself has praised ED. Don't you see a kind of double standards going here?
Okay.
I mean, that's what I really want to point out here.
Rohan Gupta, isn't it two questions? Number one, can you explain under what provision Congress party was lending loans to a newspaper company? At that time, I'm given to understand a public limited company, because as per the Representation of People's Act, I think it's very clear that political parties, the money they raise can only be used for political purposes, not for any commercial or other purposes. And number two, the question that Mr. Nene asked, this is a routine questioning. Last month it was Rahul Gandhi, this month it is Sonia Gandhi. How can you have some kind of street protest and street veto to veto what is a routine part of an investigation procedure? After all, Congress party did not do this when Mr. Kharge was questioned in the same case, or Mr. Pawan Kumar Bansal was questioned in the same case. So it's like one set of rules for Congress leaders and one set of rules for members of the Gandhi family.
Okay, allow me to answer that. First of all, you asked that why the loan was given. Let us not forget National Herald was a newspaper in 1942, whether it is a freedom fight or any other freedom-related movement, it has played a very important role. And since it was the heart of Congress party, it was the responsibility of Congress party to support. They had no income source. And let me tell you, Zaka, these documents, these are not new documents. These are in public domain for last 20 years. The income tax returns have been filed regularly. Even last 8 years, BJP is in power. All the income tax returns have been filed. Why? There is no question, number one. Number two, we are not against. I oppose the language which is used by Mr. Analyst, whatever his name is. Her name is Sonia Gandhi. And let us not, yes, you can make your point, but you should not cross that political line. As a political spokesperson, you can definitely use the language, but not as analyst. But let me come back to the point here. The point here is not regarding questioning Gandhi family or regarding questioning by EDI. The way it has been done, you require FIR to be filed for any EDI case. There is no FIR. There was a private complaint which was filed by
No FIR is needed.
Don't speak in between, Charu. You don't speak in between.
No, you're factually wrong. You're factually wrong.
Yeah, so you
you're
don't speak
wrong.
in between, please. Let me allow to complete.
No, but if you are factually wrong, you have to be corrected. No FIR is needed.
Whether it is loan which is given by Congress party, 67 crore have been used for paying the salaries. Number two, there is no change of hands as far as assets are concerned. So even if you feel that, okay, there is something wrong, how it becomes the case of money laundering? Yes, it is issue of income tax. We are ready to answer. We have filed the income tax returns. The point here is not about the action against Gandhi family. The point is about the mission of the agency. Another question, sir. There are 8 leaders like Narayan Rane or Himanto Viswasa or Yadurappa or Esharappa. I'll give you 10 such examples where the leaders who have joined from Congress or other party to BJP, even if the action was taken initially, there was an inquiry against someone against us, no action has been taken.
No, so answer that, Charu Pragya. This is something that opposition always asks when it's a Himanta Biswa, when it is a Shubhendu Adhikari, when it is a Mukul Roy. They leave those parties and join your party, there is no investigation. But when they're in other parties, there's always investigation against them. Please answer that, Charu.
And
Charu Pragya to respond.
Zaka, I don't know how that is a defense against what the accused Mrs. Gandhi has been up to with her son, Mr. Gandhi. And I also want to say one more thing. Rohan is factually wrong. There can be investigation on the basis of a complaint. A FIR is not necessary. That is the way this country's constitution and these laws have functioned. No, I am sorry. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're factually wrong. You are factually wrong. Rohan, you're factually wrong. And Zaka, can I please speak without Rohan taking over
Rohan,
me?
let her finish,
See,
please. Yes, thank you.
In the name of protest, you cannot resort to anarchy and arson, which is what Congress has been doing while this questioning has been going on. They're burning down cars and two-wheelers. They have literally resorted to anarchy. One MLA from Karnataka has publicly spoken to the media and said, we have made enough money to last us 3 generations, 4 generations. Let's help Mrs. Gandhi now. So when these kind of statements come from Congress insiders, it is an insult. And it is worse when people like Rohan sit on national television and defend that. Why do you not go and find out why the concerned MLA said what he did? There has to be some truth to that. And I'm telling you what has happened.
But Charu, please answer the question I asked. Charu, please answer the question I asked. How come pending investigations against leaders of other parties, when they join your party, suddenly those investigations go into the cold storage? Why?
No, absolutely. They don't do that, Zaka. And I'll tell you something. Even in this particular case, the complaint is around since 2013. We are in 2022 now. It takes time for an investigation to conclude. Most importantly, that cannot be the only defense Congress has against telling the truth about what Mrs. Gandhi is up to. That's the only defense they have. How does it explain her wrongdoings?
I want to go back to the lawyers. I want to go to Sandeep Das and give Mr. Nene the final word. Again, it comes back to the agency and the efficiency of the agency as well. And Sandeep Das, there was a reply by the MOS Finance yesterday in Parliament, who was asked a specific question on how many raids the Enforcement Directorate has done in the last 8 years. And the answer is 3,000 raids, and property worth 99,000 crores has been attached in the last 8 years in these 3,000 raids. Now, the question that's being asked is, why is there this manifold increase in raids and attachment of properties in the last 8 years compared to the previous 8 years, where you had only 112 raids and 5,000 crores of property attached?
You see, to my mind, actually, the answer is fairly simple. World over, there is now, including in India, there is now a steady sentiment against economic crimes and coming down heavily on economic crimes. You can take any example of Vijay Mallya, Nirav Modi. We've had them all in India. So I believe there's a huge public sentiment as well against criminals who've committed economic wrongs. And therefore, the ED is investigating all of that. I'm not going to comment on which side of the political fence they're sitting on, but it's a matter of fact that this would not be only in India. If you were to analyze figures the world over, there has been a severe crackdown on corruption and money laundering the world over, and India is no different.
Okay. Mr. Nene, I'll give you the final word. Again, the fact that the Supreme Court has today upheld not just the provisions of arrest or the power to arrest, but also provisions of conducting search and seizure and attaching proceeds of a crime, it comes back to the top court saying that even the twin provisions for bail under PMLA are legal and they are not arbitrary. Will the opposition now stop saying that the ED, CBI, IT, etc. are being used as veritable arms of this government, as instruments to harass the opposition? Because now the top court no less has said that the powers given under PMLA are valid.
No, the opposition will not stop saying that, because that is the only rag they can say. There are no case, really speaking. If the people from their ilk are getting caught into corruption web, they shouldn't be defending them. They should be actually telling them that come out clean. Let my party be clean, rather than maligning the name Gandhi's. And I'm sorry I used Sonia Gandhi's Italian name, and the reason was I was quoting Julius Caesar, who himself was an Italian. So I thought that would be a lesson, perhaps going more at home. than this way. But here we are getting the maligning name of Mahatma Gandhi as well. So opposition will not be stopping this, because that's the only thing they can do at this juncture. They will keep shouting like that. What is really reprehensible is they're going on streets and burning property. What about the rights of the people whose property is being burned by these goons?
Yeah.
Don't they have any rights? Only rights are with the leaders of opposition. It is almost like a British constitution, erstwhile constitution, where they said the king can do no wrong. Our constitution is thankfully not like that. Our constitution is equal rights to every member of this society. Let us follow that in toto, isn't it?
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Mr. Nene, Sandeep Das, Charu Pragya and Rohan Gupta, thank you very much for joining us on this big debate on the PMLA provisions and the power of arrest and power of search and seizure of the Enforcement Directorate being upheld by the Supreme Court today in a significant decision. Meanwhile, let's talk about something else that's been happening. It's another tragic suicide. It's been reported in the state of Tamil Nadu. A 12th grade student died in Karaikuri district. Preliminary investigation reveals that the boy was allegedly stressed out as he was not able to score good marks. This is the 5th case of suicide just in the last 2 weeks in the state of Tamil Nadu. 3 girls and 1 boy from class 12 and 1 girl from class 11 have died by suicide in Tamil Nadu just in the last month or so. Purnima Murli has more details on this. This is a particularly worrying trend in Tamil Nadu, where students of class 10, class 12, because of exam pressure, because of NEET pressure, are simply not able to cope with the stress and end up taking the extreme step of taking their own life. Is there any systemic way to address this? I know the Chief Minister spoke about it yesterday in the context of what happened in Kalakurchi, but more the onus should be on schools, on parents, the education system.
Absolutely. In fact, there should be counselling is what the Tamil Nadu government feels, because of the increase in trend, especially over the last 24 hours. We've seen 3 such cases, one in Kadalur, one in Sivagangai, one in Karaikudi, which is also belonging to Sivagangai district. While there have been multiple discussions between the between the education minister and the institutions, especially those belonging to the southern part of Tamil Nadu, there have been discussions on this because of the increase in number of cases, and the Tamil Nadu government is trying to look at ways to make it better for students. The stress that students undergo, especially those from the 11th and the 12th grade. So right now discussions are also going on in terms of what could be done to help students, to guide students across Tamil Nadu, considering that there have been 5 such cases reported over the last 2 weeks, and it is a worrying trend, and Tamil Nadu government is also looking at ways and says that parents, teachers, schools should not add more stress to students, and that they should allow students to study and not pressurize them. This is something that Chief Minister had addressed, but the numbers is only increasing in the last 2 days specifically. 3 cases reported over the last 24 hours in Tamil Nadu.
Purnima, in this specific case, this latest one in Karaikuri, has there been any kind of suicide note, any indications given by the student concerned as to why he took this extreme step? I know in the case of the Kalakurchi girl, she had said that there were 2 teachers who she felt, rightly or wrongly, were putting too much pressure on her. In this case, is there any such inference, any suicide note left behind?
So far, no suicide note has been recovered, but preliminary investigation reveals that the boy did not score well, and that has been bothering him. He was stressed over the low scores that he has received over the last 1 month, which is why he has taken the drastic step. Is something that initial inquiry reveals, but at the moment, police, of course, this has now been transferred to the CBCID. Every suicide case will now be transferred to the CBCID as per the directions of the Madras High Court. So at the moment, stress because of low scores is the reason, is what police sources tell us.
Okay, Purnima, we'll leave it at that. Thanks very much. Purnima Murli there reporting for us tonight from Chennai. That's a wrap of Viewpoint. In a moment, Akanksha will be here with the biggest exclusive tonight.